So what we're going to, this evening, new business number 6 is to present for a first reading amendments to Chapter 5 of the Municipal Code, Article 6, Adult Use Marijuana Business License, that would add license requirements to our city code. So just by way of background for the city council, council members will recall that several months ago, we modified the zoning ordinance to permit retail adult use cannabis locations in the city of Seaford in certain locations. We prohibited it in the downtown area in the C3 zoning district, but in our zoning ordinance now that's been adopted and approved, you can locate up to 2 medical and or recreational adult use marijuana facilities. In that zoning ordinance change, there is several caveats: how far you can be from churches, schools, playgrounds, as an example, 2,000 feet. So it does limit where they can go. Additionally, there is a caveat in the code that says when that drug is removed at the federal level from Schedule 1 and rescheduled by the federal government, then we can permit. We do have a medical marijuana facility located in our city, and they have filed for a variance based on that zoning ordinance that was adopted. They're asking for a variance from that specific prohibition. I understand through our attorney that that process at the federal level is currently occurring. There is a move by the Biden administration to deschedule that or reschedule that, I'll say. I'm not up on it. I've talked to our attorney about it. He understands it's moving through the process. No one can know. We don't know at our level if this will happen or not.
I was going to say the next hearings are December 2nd.
Yeah, it is in process. So based on that backdrop, that a business owner could get a variance for that one caveat in our existing zoning ordinance, and or the rescheduling of the drug that may occur by year's end or shortly after, we have the potential in the city of Seaford, based on current zoning laws, to permit it. Because once it's in the zoning ordinance and it's laid out, staff, if they meet all the requirements, has the duty to issue the permit. We have to approve it. So with that backdrop, we felt it prudent to suggest the council consider licensing regulations. And that's what this first reading is. It lays out Article 6, Adult Use Retail Marijuana Business License. Gives the title, the intent and purpose, to promote the health and safety, general welfare of the citizens of the city of Seaford. We're designated the lead agency in charge of this permit. There's a license required. It goes on, this is standard license requirements. We require a license for many businesses, plumbers, trash haulers, several. It's very similar to that. And then you will see, in addition to the proposed code language in your package, you will see the draft license paperwork. And one of the reasons why staff believes we need a license is in the event we permit this and something occurs at the location, our police department, our building official, our public works, our electric folks need to know who to contact in the event of an emergency. Someone breaks into the building, the water main is leaking. There's a sundry of things that could happen. So this information is important to staff and our residents and citizens, as well as it needs to be updated annually. So that's the reasoning, that's the why we're looking at adopting licensure regulations. If you don't mind, I'll go into new business 7 because they dovetail. New business 7 is revisions to the schedule of fees and rates, which add adult use marijuana retail business license. We're not asking for adoption of this revised fee and rate schedule yet, but it dovetails with this, and I felt it was important, staff felt it was important to include this for council's edification. And on page 4 of 8, you'll see inserted there, and all the changes are tracked on this, but it does state adult use retail marijuana business license, and it's at $1,000. That was a recommendation of the building official. There's not a lot to go on. There's not a lot of other sister communities in Sussex County that he could find that have licensed yet, because as you know, as council is well aware, there's a lot of discussion amongst our peer communities, other sister municipalities, about whether they're going to permit it, whether they're not, how they're going to permit it. But this is just a suggestion, and council can change that number in any way or provide any feedback. Again, we're not asking for the fee and rate schedule to be revised today. We'll re-present it at the second reading. You'll notice we did put a effective date of February 1, 2025 on it. That's just a placeholder right now. In the event it moves through the approval process and it gets adopted by council and it gets advertised, that's on or about the time we think it may occur. As we get closer, we'll refine that date. I will try to answer any questions council may have.
Do we not, oh, I'm sorry, do we not currently offer or assess a fee for the medical?
We do not. No, ma'am, we
Okay.
do not.
Councilman Bradley,
I've got a couple questions.
fire away.
First of all, once a year, updating, shouldn't that be fine-tuned a bit in case there's a sale of the real estate or the business, like 30 days, they have to give new information so that the city's on board with the activity?
So, yes, sir, you're exactly 100% correct, Councilman, but it is covered in section 5.6.10 of the draft ordinance, and that is transfers prohibited. No adult use marijuana business license is transferable, separable, or divisible, and such authority of license confer shall be conferred only upon the licensee named therein. Okay. So if you change, if it shifts, then a new license has to be issued to the new proprietor.
And the second thing, and I want to make sure I'm clear on this, we receive no remuneration from the benefit of the business, and the state receives how much?
You are correct, sir. Municipalities were not allowed, or counties were not allowed to participate in the taxation of this. My understanding of the law is cursory, but it is written similar to the alcohol laws and how that's taxed. We don't get alcohol tax either as a municipality. My understanding, it's 3% at the state level.
Okay. So basically, if it creates an issue in the city, we ought to be remunerated to help benefit the added issue is where I'm heading with this. I'm careful with my wording.
I can only give you an opinion at this point. And
We don't ask liquor stores to do that.
Right, and I agree with you, there will be issues. There will be also, I believe, fees collected by the state, and they do help us fund different police programs, different grants, but that's through kind of a backdoor mechanism.
Well, my concern about this is I think there's some confusion with some of the recipients of the new changes in law on what is the difference between legal marijuana and homegrown marijuana. And I experience it directly on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get donuts this morning for our little meeting. And, I'm walking through the parking lot and it's a very distinct odor. And I have customers in my store now that don't seem to recognize the difference. As a matter of fact, I had to have a conversation with one of my employees and give him a lesson on capitalism, that maybe if he didn't smell the odor when he walked into a customer's house, he'd get a bigger tip and could buy more when he was off. So I think there's a lot of confusion about this, and I think it has a potential of getting out of hand. That's my concerns.
I mean, currently, if you were interested in participating in recreational marijuana, you could drive to Cambridge, you could drive to Salisbury, where you could purchase it, or Ocean City, or Annapolis, or list any place in Baltimore, New Jersey, or any other state, District of Columbia. But also probably your business goes there too, because if you're going to drive to Cambridge, you're going to go shopping in Cambridge, you're going to do whatever. So I understand the concern. I would say the same thing about alcohol. I mean, I've worked with many people who've had a strong smell of alcohol on their breath, and I would say the same thing to them as I would to the person who smells otherwise. I think it's about personal responsibility, and I think we have to educate people on that no matter what the substance is they choose to use. But I agree with the idea of adding a licensing fee. I think that's, and I would question whether we were interested in doing that for the medical as well, but I do agree with that, and I agree with having some more structure and having this licensing paperwork available to have that structure to kind of, I mean, it's a lot for someone to get a license to do this by the state. This is not fly-by-night people who, just willy-nilly are going to start selling pot out of a van. I mean, to get this process through the state and be selected as one of these retail places is a lot of work, and it's very limited licensing, and it's costly. So I feel confident that the people who do get the license are going to hopefully be good business people who are going to establish a well-respected business in our community.
Okay, well, just to take it one step further, and I'll end my discussion. I was at a meeting a few months ago where Danny Short mentioned legislation that is being passed through the state that because he and I are now over 65 years old, we can actually write our own prescription and go in and go into a retail store and buy it across the counter without having any medical information made available. And so there's a lot of open-ended portions of this that I think we as a council in terms of the city have to take into consideration.
Any more questions or comments from council? Okay. I will chime in with this. When we decided to fall underneath the federal guidelines, my opinion, it's very smart for us to put specific guidelines in place for the city. Whatever, right, wrong, or different, how you view the topics at large, it's smart for us to do that. So I appreciate our city manager doing a great job of laying it out and explaining it thoroughly, because it is a very complicated issue. It's got a lot of tentacles, and it's going to be ongoing. We'll have these conversations in the next few weeks and months because things are going to be decided at federal level that are going to impact the city, and we'll have to handle it as it comes down our way. All right, I'm going to move on to old business. Do we have any old business?
We have none, sir.